Some chefs say, have you ever read the ingredient list in a box of mac and cheese? In addition to things like protein concentrate and 2 types of salt, there's a load of artificial colors and flavors. I just don't want to put those ingredients in my body. So that's why I've developed a homemade version that's fast to prepare and uses 3 different types of cheeses. Join me in the kitchen and see how it's done. To make our super cheesy mac and cheese, we're going to start by cooking our pasta. Now, normally I would make this with elbow macaroni, but I thought it might be interesting to use penne instead. So here I have some boiling salted water. We're going to cook our pasta according to package directions. My package says 10 to 12 minutes. But this time I'm going to undercook the pasta by about 2 minutes. The reason I want to do that is so that when I bake it in the oven at the very end, the pasta doesn't end up mushy. So in goes our pasta, and I'm going to set my timer. And now we're ready for the bechamel sauce, which is the base of our mac and cheese. In this pan, I'm going to melt a little bit of unsalted butter, so that just gets melted down. And then over the top, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour. And what I'm doing is creating what's called a roux. So a roux is a natural thickening agent for our sauce. So we're just going to mix these together. And then we want to cook the roux for about 1 to 2 minutes until it starts to smell like popcorn. Then we know our roux is ready to go. What we're doing is we're cooking out that raw taste of the flour, which can be a little unpleasant. So just cook this for about 1 to 2 minutes. There, that roux looks perfect. It smells nice and nutty. So we're just going to pour in our cold milk. The reason I want to add cold milk to my hot roux is it prevents lumps. So anytime you're making gravy or a sauce like this, make sure your roux is hot and your liquid is cold. To give our bechamel extra flavor, we're just going to add a little bit of freshly grated nutmeg. I have a nutmeg grater and a fresh nutmeg seed. I'm just going to grate in a little bit. Now, if you don't have these things at home, you can certainly use the powdered kind. Now let's just mix that in. We're going to continue to cook. I'm going to switch from a whisk to a spatula so I can make sure I stir all those corners in the pan. Okay, my bechamel is bubbling away and starting to thicken, but my pasta's done. So I'm going to check it to make sure. It should have a little bit of crunchiness to it, because again, I'm going to bake it in the oven, so I don't want it to fall apart. That's perfect. So we're going to drain this and then return it to the original pan. And now back to my bechamel. This is thickened up nicely, but not too much. So to this, I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper, because that'll give it a nice flavor. And then a little bit of salt. And remember, I don't usually include the amount of salt in recipes because I want you to determine what's the right level for you. And now the best part, the cheeses. And instead of using just 1 cheese, I'm using 3. So the first that I'm going to add is a little bit of Parmesan. I think that's about a cup. There we go. And now we have some wonderful cheddar cheese. So that'll go in and give it a nice flavor and color. Finely grated if you can, because it's going to incorporate better into the sauce. And then the unusual cheese, a little bit of blue. And I'm going to crumble this up and put it in, and then mix this all together, and then the cheese should melt nicely. Now, if you don't like blue cheese, how about a goat cheese? If you don't like cheddar cheese, how about a jack cheese? Be creative about this, but I like having a really nice, rich, cheesy flavor, and I find I get that by using multiple cheeses. There we go. Look at how luscious this is. I want to taste it to make sure it's properly seasoned. It tastes so much better than the box kind because it's got the richness of all those cheeses and it's properly seasoned. I don't want to add too much more. So now I'm going to take my cheese sauce and then pour that directly over your pasta. We still got a couple chunks of blue cheese in there, but that's okay. Those will melt out during baking. Perfect. And now give this a nice mix. Our mac and cheese is ready for our Pyrex dish. So I'm just going to pour this in a little bit more. There we go. Oh, doesn't that look heavenly? And yes, you could eat it straight as it is, but we're gonna put on some dry toasted breadcrumbs. I like using Panko, which is a Japanese breadcrumb that you can buy in the store, but if you don't have any dried breadcrumb will do. And then this is gonna go into the oven for about 7 to 10 minutes just to heat through. And then if you want the top really nice and crispy on top, put it under the broiler for a couple minutes and it'll get nicely brown. Into the oven this goes. Oh, the mac and cheese smells absolutely fantastic. Be careful, it's hot. This tastes so much better than the processed version. This version actually tastes like cheese and there are no unpronounceable ingredients. So join me in skipping the box and doing homemade. Happy and healthy eating.